Welcome back to Follow Me, 11B. Discussions on current events, macroeconomics, and freedom and liberty from a veteran's perspective. Today is November 1st, 2021, and today is also the first day in the new studio. Got something put together, guys. Most of you know this is a channel about freedom, liberty, macroeconomics, veterans affairs. However, that's not all I'm about. I'm also an avid comic collector. Have been since I was a wee lad. So, I've got a few decorations in the background here that kind of reflect that aspect of me. And as a matter of fact, from time to time when comic-related things that have to do with current events or the pop culture come up, a new Marvel movie, a new TV show, maybe even a new comic that has to do with that the media might be talking about, I'll probably bring it up on the channel. Same with sci-fi. Guilty. I'm a fan. Got a few other things in the background here that demonstrate that as well. So I'm not just all about music and the military. Got a few other aspects of me. But let's get to the reason for today's video. Came across an article on CNN.com, their business section, entitled, "This will be an incredibly expensive Christmas. Shoppers don't care." That means you. It's by Nathaniel Meyerson and Anikan Tappy. Hopefully I pronounced those correctly. From Halloween, October 31st, 2021, yesterday. It starts off with, you probably noticed that prices have gone up on groceries, essentials, home appliances, fast food, and all sorts of consumer goods. Inflation is at a more than decade-long high. That means that 2021 will be among the most expensive holiday shopping seasons ever. Despite a global supply chain crisis and a resurgence of cases of the illness and high inflation, America's economy remains in pretty decent shape. Consumers aren't spending as much as they did in the spring when they still had gobs of money to blow from their stimulus checks, but they continue to open up their wallets, albeit for some smaller purchases. And then it goes on to talk about consumer spending that rose 0.6% in September, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis that reported Friday. But the report came with some red flags, such as large durable good purchases, such as cars and appliances, were down 0.2%. Moving on here, this is the reason this really caught my eye, though. Higher prices, quote, well received by customers. It's exciting news. Higher prices, unquote. Actually, let's do another quote. Here's another one. Consumers are paying higher prices because there are limited opportunities to purchase other goods, said Gus Foucher, chief economist at PNC. If your dishwasher breaks and you need a new one, and dishwashers are in short supply, you're willing to pay a premium. So, unquote. The last two sentences of this article on CNN were the only ones that didn't spin this in a positive light. Probably more accurate than the rest of the article. If inflation persists at high levels, and that is stronger than wage growth, that would cause consumers to be more cautious with their spending, said PNC's Foucher. They have to eat out less and go to the movies less. Instead of buying steak, they're going to buy ground beef. Well, obviously. So, I'm going to cut over to an article from CNBC that was written on October 29th by Jeff Cox, titled, "Inflation Notches a Fresh 30-Year High as Measured by the Fed's Favorite Gauge." Here's a few bullet points, or key points as they call them. Headline inflation, including food and energy, rose at 4.4% annual rate in September, the fastest since 1991. Core inflation, which is the Fed's preferred gauge, increased 3.6% for the 12 months, the same as in August, but also the fastest pace in 30 years. Personal income declined at a faster pace than expected, while consumer spending increased and was in line with forecasts. Let me say that again. Personal income declined at a faster pace than expected, while consumer spending increased and was in line with forecasts. Does that sound like a healthy economy to you? Final bullet point: employment costs rose more than expected, and the fastest fastest annual pace in 19 years. Yes, because they're basically forced to pay people a lot more than they ever would have in the past, just because of the stimulus checks and etc. People didn't feel like they needed to work because they really didn't. They had money coming in from Uncle Sam. So they could be more picky and more choosy. You just got to use a little bit of your noggin, a little bit of critical thinking on this. Bad thing about this is because of those employment costs that rose so quickly in the fastest pace in 19 years, that's not exactly enticing people that were on the fence to start their small business. So, moving down here, there's some information and quotes from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on inflation. Let's see here. The headline. Oh, here we go. Earlier this morning, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, a former Fed chair, said she still expects inflation to dissipate, though she and other officials have acknowledged that it has been more persistent and longer lasting than expected. Here's a quote. Year-over-year inflation remains high and will for some time simply because of what's already happened in the first months of the year, Yellen told CNBC. From Rome at the G20 summit. But monthly rates, I believe, will come down in the second half of the year. I believe we'll see a return to levels close to 2%, said Janet Yellen, a.k.a. Saul Rosenberg. That's great news. I think we'll see a return to inflation levels close to 2%. Fantastic. If we can look at those monthly rates, every 6 months we're going to have 12% increase in product prices. That's the goal. Really. So anyway, I wanted to just point out a couple other things before we close up this video. But the trade deficit. U.S. Well, let's see here. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and the U.S. Census Bureau, the U.S. monthly international trade deficit increased in August 2021. The deficit increased from $70.3 billion in July to $73.3 billion in August. And we got the Commerce Department's advanced estimate this past Wednesday, and economists had predicted it to explode to $87.9 billion from the last month's $73.3 billion, but it blew up the explosion even bigger than I thought it would be. It's $96.3 billion, and it's taken the all-time record for the U.S. trade deficit, monthly trade deficit. So again, this is not good news for the economy. This is a lot of other countries that are building stuff and selling us things. And when you're in business and you're selling things, you're making money. When you're buying things, you're sending money out. So right now, as a country, we're not making things. We're buying and buying and buying, and it's mainly because we're printing and printing and printing and devaluing and devaluing and devaluing the currency. And that's not boding well for the dollar. Right now, it's not gone tango uniform, but if I were a betting man, this can't last forever. So, just one last thing. The spot price of silver at the time of this recording is $24.14 an ounce. The spot price of gold per ounce is $1,800 even, and Bitcoin is $61,248 US dollars per Bitcoin. So, I'm not telling you to buy any of these. I'm not suggesting any one in particular, but in my house, we're diversifying out of the dollar as much as possible. It's probably good to have some dry powder in Uncle Sam's and some George Washingtons and so forth. But I think it's a good idea to clear yourself out of the dollar as much as is reasonable for your particular situation. Again, not giving economic advice. It's not my place, but I don't see this going in a good direction. So that's pretty much it for now. I just wanted to give everybody the update on the studio and an update on the trade deficit and a little taste of inflation and inflation to come. Thank you very much, and we will see you all on the next video.